week I started talking about 50 things I've learned along the way, and I couldn't complete the 50 lessons I've learned so far in life. These are not the only lessons I learned, but 50 that I think I can share with you. And so I'm going to continue, and because there are quite a lot of them, I don't want to take too much time. I just want to go straight in and continue from number 23, the 23rd lesson I have learned in the last 50 years is that life's great opportunities come unannounced. Life's great opportunities come unannounced. Opportunity, most of the time, does not knock. Opportunity just shows up. And when it shows up, you better be ready. If you're not ready, it will go to the next neighbor. It will go to somebody else. If you're not ready, it will not wait for you. And most opportunities don't come in a way that we can easily recognize. That sometimes opportunity comes to you wrapped up in problems, wrapped up in a crisis, wrapped up in chaos. It comes from the wrong person. Somebody you thought should not be the one who should give you the opportunity becomes the opportunity. Sometimes something that is meant for evil turns to your good. A trap that is set for you becomes a stepping stone. So you can never tell what is going to happen to that which stands before you. Today it may look like a problem. Tomorrow it will be the solution that opens greater doors for you. Opportunity, life's great opportunities do not come announced. They don't announce themselves. Opportunity does not show up to say, hey, look at me, I'm opportunity. No, it comes silently, and sometimes you just need discernment to know it. And how do you know? You only know it when you are ready for it. You only know it when you trust God. You have to trust God one day at a time, one moment at a time. And trust God to turn even the things that are meant for evil to your good. When you see people set traps for you, don't be bothered about the traps. Just ask God to convert it to a stepping stone, and He will turn it to a stepping stone. Life's great opportunities come unannounced. Number 24, 24th lesson. Change is constant. The world does not pause because I paused. Life will go on whether you go on or not. Life will move on with or without you. Things are going to change. Nothing is permanent on this side of eternity. Nothing is permanent. Something that you thought will be there always will change right before your eyes. Your children will grow right before your eyes. They won't be babies any longer. Somebody who today is nobody will become somebody. The person who takes instructions from you today may be giving you instructions tomorrow. Change is constant. Things change. Life changes. And when things change, whether you move or not, it will move. And life will not stop for you, pause for you, because you need more time. And just because you're going through a problem does not mean the world has stopped. The world will keep going. Just because you haven't made up your mind does not mean the world will stop. It will still going. One of the things you have to embrace in life is change. That things will change. The bad news is that we don't like change. We like things to be as they are because we build our life around our comforts. Things that make us feel comfortable, that's why we build our lives. But things change, and if you don't move along, you will be left behind. In so many ways, we see that happening. As a pastor, I've seen it happen many times when things change. The way church was 20 years ago is not the way church is today. We have to change. The way people were 20 years ago is not the same way they are today. This church has changed. When we started, we were just a bunch of young people just trying to obey God. I remember when we used to have church, from about 8 o'clock in the morning till about 3 in the afternoon, one service. And I felt that was the best because we're all young people. We were married, not married, and if we were married, just newly married, no children, no homework to go and supervise, nothing else to do, just church. And we felt the longer we stayed in the presence of God, the the better it was and the more anointed we were. Then we started marrying. And everybody started marrying. And those who were married couldn't come for choir practice. And people had to take care of their husbands. And husbands had to take care of their children. And you have to go home early to take care of your children's improvement. And people started getting more responsibilities in the office. And they had to stay and do overtime. So we have to realize change is happening. If we continue to do church that long, we will have our church, but there will be nobody to church. And so we had to change. And we had to adapt. And that's why our services are straight to the point, because life is changing. And who knows, now our service is about 2 hours. I'm sure pretty soon it will be 1 hour 45 minutes, and we may even go to 1 hour 30 minutes. Change is constant. And whether you like it or not, change will change. All right. Number 25th lesson. Elderly people deserve my courtesy and respect. They deserve my respect. Why? Because they are the picture of my future. When you see an older person, if he's slow, don't try to push him. He's just telling you how you look like 30 years from now. When you see an older person who easily forgets, don't laugh at him, because you will also forget 40 years from today. When you see an older person who is very unhappy because of the way he treated his children and the way he treated his wife, everybody has abandoned him, he's 80 years old, he's living alone, nobody visits him, don't be quick to criticize. Because if you make the same choices, you'll also be 80 and alone. The people who are ahead of you show you what your future can be. Respect them. Even when they have made terrible mistakes, respect them, because they are your best teachers. They teach you how life can turn for good or for evil. They deserve your respect. And I think that as you grow older, the more you respect older people, just for the fact that they survived, is just respectable. Because this world is a crazy world. And things happen. And just for somebody to live to be 90 years, even if he didn't achieve anything, he breathed for 90 years. Respect him for breathing. Elderly people deserve my courtesy and respect because they are the picture of my future. When you see anybody who is ahead of you, remember, he's showing you what your future can look like. If you don't want what they have become, then you have to make some choices in your life. Number 26th lesson. People are people. I can help them, but I can't change them. That's one sober lesson I've learned in life, that people are people. They are not angels. They are just people. I can't change people. I can help people. I can teach them. I can advise. I can counsel. I can support, but I can't change. And I've come to realize there are people you can help with everything in you, but they will never change. They will never change. You can advise them with the best advice, they will never take it. You can give them money, they will misuse it. You can point their mistakes to them, they will never learn. That's one thing about people. They are people. And when you find there are people who don't change, help them if you can and leave them. They have to sort their own lives out. You can't solve people's problems for them, and you cannot live people's lives for them. They make their own choices and they live with the consequences. People are people. You can help them, you can't change them. The interesting thing is, even God looks at people and they are people. I mean, if God could change everybody, don't you think he would just say one word, be changed, and everybody will be changed? No. He gives us his word. He lets his Holy Spirit lead us. He will bring people to speak to us. But he can't change us until we make a choice to repent. When Adam and Eve were going to sin, where was God? You think he was far away? He was there. He created them. He planted the Garden of Eden. He told them, don't eat of that fruit. They went to the fruit. He was there. They picked the fruit. He was there. They took it close to their mouth. He didn't hit their hand. They ate it. Because people are people. You can help them. You can't change them. If somebody wants to be bad, they will be bad. If somebody wants to be stubborn, they'll be stubborn. Do your best to help people. Leave the change up to them. It's people's responsibility to make personal changes, not your responsibility to change them. And that's one of the things everybody should learn. Husbands, your wife is your wife. You can help her, you can change her. Wives, your husband is your husband. You can help him, you can change him. The bad habit he learned, he will live with it. Oh yeah, you better adjust. People don't change much. They change small changes. The same complaints you make 20 years ago, you'll find you are making it 20 years later. Because people are people. You can help them. You can change them. Say with me, people are people. I can help them. I can change them. All right? So don't get frustrated. Just help them. Leave the change up to them. All right. Number 27. You ready for this? Those who like to criticize others to me will also criticize me to others. So when you are listening to the criticism and say, oh, they did it, yay, they are bad, oh, remember, tomorrow it will be your record playing somewhere. Critics are critics. They just need a subject. And you are the subject. They won't criticize you to your face, but they will criticize you. Anybody who has a smooth tongue and talks a lot will talk a lot even when there is nothing to say. And when they have no subject, they will pull you on the table and talk about you. That's why you don't encourage critics around you. It's all right for once in a while people to share opinion about you, about something, or you're doing something and somebody comes and says, listen, I have this information about that person. I think you should look at it carefully. That's fine once in a while. But if it's somebody's habit where they're constantly bad-mouthing somebody to you, guaranteed they are doing the same about you to somebody else. You cannot be safe around a critic. You cannot be safe around a gossip. Anybody who spreads gossip to you is spreading gossip about you to somebody else. If you don't want it to continue, stop the gossip. Tell him, thank you, I've heard enough. Thank you. The last week one, I haven't fully digested it, so keep this week's one. And maybe next year you can give me another one. But if the person is always gossiping about somebody, guaranteed he's gossiping about you too. You are not immune, my friend. You're not the best person. People will talk about you. Number 28 lesson. Blame does not solve problems. It's one lesson I've learned. That when there is a problem, it's easy to blame somebody. Who did it? Who did that? Who did that? Who did that? Why didn't he do it? And yes, it's good to talk about all the things that people did wrong, but that doesn't solve the problem. The earlier you get out of blame to provide solutions, the better for you. Somebody is always responsible for what is wrong. You can blame people. You can blame the government. You can blame the president. You can blame the pastor. You can blame your father. You can blame your school teacher. You can blame your community. But it doesn't solve the problem. Blame doesn't solve problems. Don't go through your life blaming people. You have to take responsibility and solve your problems. And the earlier you stop blaming, the better. When things go wrong, yes, we'll blame somebody, we'll be angry, and we'll talk about what people did for which was wrong, but say it just for a short while. But quickly move from blame to solution. Because if you get frozen with blame and you just keep talking about the problem and who created it, you would never find solution. I think that's something politicians should start learning. The blame doesn't solve problems. Blame doesn't solve problems. Number 29. This one is an interesting one. People are complex. When you think you know them, they do something crazy. Isn't that true? When you think you know somebody, you say, oh, as for this one, oh, I know him. Then he does something, you start scratching your head. What happened? People are complex. They make crazy choices. Sensible people make crazy choices. They do silly things. And you wonder, what were they thinking? The question is, are you like that also? Do you do crazy things that you wonder to yourself, what was I thinking? What was going through my mind? Why did I do that? Because you are complex. You don't know yourself the way you think you do. I don't know myself the way I think I do. And sometimes when certain situations have not come your way, you cannot predict how you'll respond. If you've never walked where people have walked, it's not easy to understand them. And sometimes you can't even predict your own actions. There are things you say, I would never do, simply because you have never been put within certain conditions. And you realize you do crazy things yourself. People are complex. People will shock you. People will disappoint you. People will let you down. People you never thought will betray you will betray you. People you never thought will let you down will let you down. And sometimes people you never thought would be good will be good. And people you thought were your enemies will turn out to be your best friends. There are crazy things that happen in this life. It's complex. Things are not always permanent. Things are not always predictable. You cannot always say somebody who is your enemy today will be your enemy forever. And you can never say somebody who is your friend today will be your friend forever. In life, I have seen people who were great friends who became great enemies. And I've seen great enemies who became great friends. I've seen people who stood and supported me also stand and try to pull me down. And I've seen people who tried to pull me down later try to support me. It's a complex world. It's a complex world. Things are not always constant. You cannot be sure who is your permanent friend and who is your permanent enemy. Just be open for change. When it happens, move on. Don't just stay and blame and just talk about, have you heard what they did? They did it. They've done it. And if you don't keep quiet, they will do it again. All right. So people are complex. When you think you know them, they do something unexpected, something crazy, something out of the blue. It's part of life. It's part of how we respond to life. Number 30, 30th lesson. I must not kick people when they fall. It's a lesson I've learned. We only stand by grace. It's very easy when somebody falls to add to his injury and kick him and insult him. Somebody sins, you go and condemn him. But remember, you only stand by grace. You only stand by grace. You have not been pressured the same way that person might have been pressured. You don't have the same set of circumstances. That is not to say what they did was right. But it's always important for you to understand what makes people do what they do, where they are coming from, what has influenced them, so that you can sympathize, you can understand, and probably you can help them a little bit better. So, when somebody is down, don't kick him. When you give somebody an advice and he doesn't take it, and then he takes another advice and it backfires, and he comes to tell you about how things have backfired, that is not the time for you to rub salt into his injury. That is not the time for you to say, you see, I told you, you should have done it, you see, and go on and on and on about how you are the best advisor and how he disobeyed you, and look what has happened. He's already down. Don't kick him. Help him to get up. When people are down, they need somebody to help them get up. When people sin, they need somebody who can help them to be restored. When you hear somebody has done something that is so out of this world, look at what has happened. Don't be too quick to judge. Who knows? You have the same problems. I have noticed that people who quickly judge people and condemn people and speak with condescension about people almost always have the same problems they are criticizing. It happens all the time. I know I've heard stories and I've seen preachers who get up and preach and condemn. Somebody has done something wrong and they condemn what they have done. It's an insult to the body of Christ. It's a shame to the body of Christ. And they go on and on and on. Next 5 years, they're doing the same thing. Because most of the time, the things we condemn vehemently are also things which are weak within us. And the reason we condemn them so hard without any sympathy is because we are struggling with those things. And instead of being quiet to allow God's grace to help us, we think that by knocking the other person down, we can convince people that we don't have that problem. When people are down, don't kick them. When your friend is already disgraced, don't disgrace him any further. Know when to refrain. One of the nicest images I like, in boxing, I'm quite a great fan of boxing. When Muhammad Ali fought George Foreman and in Congo, courtesy of Mobutu Sese Seko, and the 8th round when Foreman is going down and Ali hits him, and the guy is stumbling, trying to fall, and Ali lifts up his blow, his hand, he's going to hit him one killer, but he refrains from hitting him because the guy is going down anyway. That is called courtesy. It's called kindness. It's called elegance. The guy is going down already. Why do you want to hit him? Leave him to go nicely down. And sometimes in life, it's like that. You see the guy is going down, but you want to give him one killer blow. Just refrain your hand. He's going down all by himself. When people are down, don't kick them. Leave them to go down. And leave them to go down in dignity, nicely. They'll go down without further help from you. All right. So I must not kick people when they fall. We only stand by grace. Number 31. Everybody should get this lesson. God does not need my permission to bless people. Say it with me. God does not need my permission to bless people. Oh, this lesson is a very, very painful one. That is when God blesses your enemy. The person who really hurt you, and you've been praying, God, show that you are God, and then God blesses him. God, let him know I'm your apple, the apple of your eye. And then the person is promoted. He said, Lord, don't you remember what you did to me? And God keeps blessing him. Because for your information, he doesn't need your permission to bless anybody. He will have mercy on whom he will have mercy. And he can have mercy on the person who hurt you the deepest. That is why you have to get over your pain quickly. Because you can see people you think don't deserve blessing getting blessed. When God is going to bless somebody, he's not going to come to ask you, by the way, I have it in mind to bless that person, but has he hurt you before? No. He blesses him. And you're going to see people do well that you wish would not do well. Because God doesn't need your blessing. People you predict will fail will succeed. People that you can say, I have predicted some people will fail and they succeeded. Oh yeah, I've learned my lesson. So I don't predict people will fail. I say, oh, this man, he will never make it. And he's making it. Because God doesn't need my permission. I'm not God. I'm not his advisor. I'm not his counselor. I'm not his chief of staff. I don't sit in cabinet with God and tell him, as for this letter, don't sign it. No, he signs which one he signs. He wants to sign. He favors whom he wants to favor because of his own plans and purposes. I can't stand to judge who is being blessed. I can't stand to judge who is getting along in life. That's between them and God. If he wants to bless the wicked, that's up to him. My job is just to honor him in my life. I can't live people's lives for them. God does not need your permission to bless anybody. He can bless your ex-husband, bless your ex-wife, bless the lady who stole your husband from you. That's God. Haven't you seen him do things like that? Learn your lesson. Don't think because you are somebody's enemy, he's God's enemy as well. People say, well, but God, you said to Abraham, I will curse those who curse you. Are you Abraham? You are not Abraham. Just take it easy. You are just you. You are just John. You are Michael. You are Ajua or Afi. Yes. You are not Abraham. All right. Number 32. I cannot be everything that people want me to be. I cannot be everything that people want me to be. I can't satisfy everybody. I can't make everybody happy. I can't solve everybody's problems. I will hurt some people will hurt me. I can't do that. I can't be a pastor who visits everybody. If you get angry that I didn't visit you, too bad. If I decide to spend all my life visiting members of my church, I think even to the rapture, I'll still be on visitation. I can't please everybody. I can't satisfy everybody. You have your own problems. I can't solve all your problems. So I can help you. I can do what I can. But I cannot be all that people want me to be. I try to be a good pastor. Try to prepare to preach. But I can't be all that people want me to be. There are certain problems, if you come to me with them, I can't solve them. I'll refer you somewhere else. You come to me with financial problems, I'll refer you to the bank. I'm not a bank manager. Sometimes people come to me, oh, I have this problem. I take them, go see a better counselor. Because you have a deeper problem. I can counsel you on that. You have to go see a doctor. Sometimes they help you out. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm just a man of God. A man of God. Not a God of men. A man of God. That's all I am. I can't solve all your problems. I can't presume that people come to me and I just wave a hand and all their problems are solved. I'm not God. I'm just a man trying to do the will of God. So I can't be everything, and sometimes I'll disappoint people because they expect too much from me. Some want me to be a loan officer. I can't be your loan officer. Go to Unique Trust. Go and get your 48-hour loan and let them pursue you. That's your problem. Okay. Number 33. I cannot hold on to people who desperately want to leave. That's one lesson I learned very bitterly, but I learned it. That when people say, I am leaving, let them leave. You cannot bribe them. You cannot appease them. You cannot try to compromise and negotiate, because by the time somebody tells you, I am leaving, they've decided to leave. And by the time their mouth says it, their heart has already left. I can't keep them. Whether they are pastors, they are friends, or whoever. If they say they are leaving, I let them go. Most of the time, not every time, But most of the time, I would say probably 90% of the time, except I feel somebody really hasn't had the benefit of good counsel. But most of the time, when somebody comes to me, if a pastor comes to me and say, I am leaving, I say, when? Because pastors hear from God, so I'm sure he heard from God. But if I feel the person really hasn't had the benefit of good counsel, I'm going to do my best to counsel the person. But if my best doesn't work, if somebody desperately wants to live, you can hold on to him. Some of you are keeping people you can't keep. Friends who don't want to be your friends again, you want to be friends by force. He stopped calling you. You are calling him every day. Hello, hello. You're wasting your time. He wants to leave. Let him go. He has stopped visiting you. Let him go. People move on. Friends change. They want somebody else. Because that leads to my number 34. Friendship is not by force. It's not by force. If your friend doesn't want to be your friend again, what can you do? Let him go. Let her go. They've stopped talking to you. Move on. They don't call you again. Move on. They don't visit you again. Move on. If you're trying too hard to be somebody's friend, he's not responding, move on. And I want to be your friend, and I visited you 10 times, and you've never visited me. Move on. It's not by force. Friendship is not by force. Sometimes people complain, and I visit you all the time, and I'm the only one who calls you, and you never called me. Move. Friendship is not by force. Don't force friendship on me. Don't tell me, because you called me, I must call you. Who said I wanted your call in the first place? I visited you 10 years. Who said I was even happy when you visited me? Maybe I wanted you to leave. It's not by force. Tell the person next to you, friendship is not by force. Okay. You, when my father died, your father died, I came to your funeral. And you, my father died, you didn't come. Funeral too is not by force. If you wanted to watch dead bodies and you came, fine. I don't want to watch yours. Go on, move on, get on with your life. Friendship is not by force. Number 34. When counseling people, I must leave the decision making to them. I've said a lot of that already. When counseling people, I must leave the decision making to them. As a pastor, one thing I've noticed is that people don't know how to make up their minds. And most times when people sit with a pastor, they don't just want advice. They want you to tell them what to do. And I've noticed when you tell people what to do, they will blame you for whatever goes wrong. So, if you can't make up your mind, too bad. I will end with advice, but not with a decision. I can't help you on that score. You have to make up your mind. Because if I tell you what to do and things go wrong, and as they sure will, because life is strange and there are problems all around, you're going to blame me. You're going to blame me. If somebody proposes to you and you come to say, Pastor, this man has proposed. Should I marry him or not? I'll tell you his good side and leave you. Because marriage has problems. I don't want you to go and you have marriage problems and say, and this man, I didn't want to marry him, and pastor said I should marry him, and I marry him, and look at it. No, go ahead, make your decision. When you go and it doesn't work out, it's up to you. I'm not to blame. So, and that's one advice I will give to every pastor. Don't make decisions for people. And even parents, don't make decisions for your children. When they grow to a certain point, advise. Show them the options. Show them consequences. Let them make their own decision. Because people must know they made this decision and they must have the courage to fight the struggles, the obstacles when they face them later. All right. Number 36. When I get desperate, I make mistakes. Desperation is not good. Desperation is when you want something so much that you can't wait. You fight. It's as if the whole world is coming to an end. When you get to that point, you're going to make mistakes. Esau got to that point of desperation just for a meal, and he sold his birthright. When I get desperate, I make mistakes. Make sure that you don't push yourself to desperation. Number 37. I have to rush a bit because my time is moving. I must be cautious showing off what I have. People resent it. I learned this lesson years ago. It happened when the church bought me a Mercedes-Benz car, 1988. And I was so happy. And I remember a journalist came to interview me. He was somebody I had known from my youth days, and he was now a journalist, and came to talk to me about the car that I've received. And I was so happy. There's an old friend. I was just, just showing off and talking about the Mercedes-Benz. And he wrote quite a nasty article about it. I didn't blame him. I learned from it. Because sometimes it's better to learn some lessons earlier in life than later in life. And from that time, I determined I would never show off anything I have. Because people resent it. You easily make enemies by telling people what you have. Easily. Easily. You build your new house. You want everybody to come there. Hey! A few people whom you can trust can come, but not everybody. Some people look at you, and from that time on, they scheme how to bring you down. Don't be a show-off. Don't tell everybody, you see this my watch? Or this my shoe? Hey, this one, do you know? Only Michael Jackson wears shoes like this. Just wear it quietly. Wear it quietly. If they don't recognize it, just at least you know the kind of shoe you are wearing. But don't show off. Do you know how much my shirt costs? Do you know how much this costs? Do you know where I live? Do you know this? Do you know my child got the best price? Keep that to yourself. Not everybody wants to know your child got the best price, because whilst your child is at the head, somebody's child is carrying the class. That's the reality of life. So keep your stories to yourself. Don't show off. People will resent it. It's sad, but that's the reality of life. Not everybody will rejoice with you over your victory. Number 38, to stay ahead, I must always think ahead. To stay ahead, I must always think ahead. Think of future possibilities. Normally, when I make a plan, I think about 3 or 4 other alternatives. I never think of one thing at a time. I think about 4. If it doesn't go this way, this is what I'm going to do. If it doesn't go that way, that's what I'm going to do. If I get this response, I'm going to turn this way. I don't just make one plan and hope it will work, because things don't always work the way you plan them. When your plan leaves the paper and hits the ground, it will meet obstacles. So think ahead. Think of alternatives. Think of plan B, plan C, plan D. If it doesn't work this way, what else do you have? Many times I talk to people and they tell me a nice, brilliant plan, and I say, what if this problem occurs? They say, well, I haven't thought about that. Or they will say, well, when we get to the bridge, we'll cross it. You are at the bridge, cross it. Or some will say, well, we are trusting God, there'll be no problem. You sure? You have to make alternate plans. Think ahead. Think of things that could go wrong. Don't think with the best case scenario. Always plan with the worst case scenario. Think about anything that could go wrong and plan with that in mind. If you do that, you minimize your failures and increase your success rate, because you've thought through issues properly. To stay ahead, you must always think ahead. Think of problems before they occur. Number 39, when I postpone inevitable choices, I pay dearly for them later. When something needs to be done and I say, I wouldn't want to do it, I'll hurt his feelings, let me not talk about it. later it will backfire big time. You will make that decision, but by the time you make that decision, the price tag is very, very high. If it's a choice, it's inevitable, nothing is going to change it, it's certain, you must say it. If it's in something you must say it. Pay the price early and manage the consequences later. When I postpone inevitable choices, I pay dearly for them later. Some of the saddest things that have happened in my life is because there were choices I knew I had to make, there were decisions to make, but I didn't make them because for whatever reason. Number 40. This is a good one. Cheap is costly. Quality pays in the end. Cheap is costly. I've learned that lesson that, you know, when you want to do something, they say it costs so much, you know the price, and you start to cut corners and cut corners and cut corners. You do the cheaper version. Eventually, the cheaper version is not able to solve your problem. You go back and do the quality version, by which time you are paying both for the quality version and the cheaper version. Cheap is costly. Don't be cheap. If it has to be done, make sure you do it well right from the beginning. Because if you go step by step trying to do cheaper, it costs you a lot. If you want to buy a shoe, save and buy a good shoe. Don't buy 10 cheap shoes. 10 cheap, yeah, you may have 10 shoes in your wardrobe, but each one of them is stocking. Each one has opened the mouth. Each one, there are 10 of them, because when you wear that shoe, you step and going forward, it leaves you behind. And cheap shoes are like that. Cheap everything is like that. Cheap furniture, cheap chair, cheap. Do things quality for once. And you don't have to come back doing them over and over and over again. I'd rather have one good shoe which can stand pressure than 5 shoes that can stand pressure, because all of them will leave you behind. Cheap is costly, but quality will pay in the end. Go for quality. And I'm not saying quality is always expensive, but go for quality. Not expensive, quality. Quality. Number 41. Investments that promise maximum profit for minimum effort are suspicious. After we've gone through R5, Piram, and all that, if you don't learn that lesson, you will never be wise again. Anything that says, you just put in this much and you'll get 10 times more, don't trust it. Don't trust it. It's suspicious. It's not going to work. Anybody who comes to tell you, pay this money and you're going to get that, and you look at it and it doesn't make sense, it simply means it doesn't make sense. Don't go for shortcuts, cheap ways, fast ways, quick investments, somebody who is doubling money, something that promises you great reward without any effort is suspicious. Unfortunately, human beings never learn this lesson. You know, when we had the Piram issue, when Piram collapsed, and everybody knew it had collapsed, then there was another company called R5. And people went to invest in the R5. And they collapsed too. And then another one opened, I've forgotten the name, and people still invested. And it's not just a Ghanaian problem. Recently in America, it happened. Good old America. Mr. Madoff with all their money. Number 42 lesson that I've learned. If I can't get it now, I can wait for it. Tell yourself, if I can't get it now, I can wait for it. Say it again. If I can't get it now, I can wait for it. Don't act as if you don't have it now, you will die. That was Esau's problem. If I don't get it now, I will die. You won't die. You will live. You will survive. You will move on. If you can get it, you can wait for it. Don't just let instant gratification drive everything that you want in life. You have to be patient sometimes to wait for things to happen. Sometimes you don't have it. There are many things I started life I didn't have. But just wait for it. And I've never been frustrated, resentful about things I don't have. Never. When I married my wife, we didn't have anything. Didn't even have chairs in the sitting room. Had to go to the church and borrow benches that nobody was sitting on, just plain benches, and paint them white just to glorify it a bit and put it in my sitting room. If you can't get it now, wait for it. It doesn't mean for life you will be sitting on benches, but this is where you are at the bench state of life. There are stages in life. There is the bench stage and there is the sofa stage. If you are at the bench stage, stay there. You don't have it now, but wait for it. And if you are diligent and you continue pursuing your goals and working hard, the sofa stage will come. And don't put yourself down, berate yourself, look down on yourself. Good times are coming. Tell the person next to you, good times are coming. All right. Number 43. I have to really run. Little things add up to become really big things. I wish I could say a lot about this, but I can't. But little things really add up to become big things. Number 44. When I am with more mature people, I must keep quiet, listen, and learn. When you sit before people who know more than you do, don't talk. Keep quiet, listen, and learn. Open your eyes, open your ears, learn from them. Don't show off, don't brag about the little things you've achieved. Number 45. I know I'm running, but time is against me too. 45. My body is God's temple. I must keep it clean and exercise it. I can't say too much about it. Number 46. The second service is coming. I have to close the service. All right, number 46. I must treat the praise I receive like chewing gum. Chew on it a bit and spit it out. When people praise me, yes, it's good to get praise. And people say, oh, you've done this, you've done that, you've done that, you've done that. You chew on it. You get the sweet for the moment. But when it becomes routine, spit the gum out. You can't let praise stay in your head or in your mouth for a long time. It will begin to inflate your head. And in life, people are going to praise you. They're going to say nice things about you. Receive it, chew on it a little bit, and spit it out. Because you can't live your life on people's praises or on past glory. What you achieve today may not help you tomorrow. There will always be new challenges. But by all means, be encouraged by the praise you receive. But it's short term, chew on it, spit it out. I have 3 more to go. 4 more, all right? Number 47, I owe my achievements in life to God's grace and the sacrifice of those who came before me. It's very easy for you to think you are the beginning of everything. Without you, nothing would have been done. But people came before you. By the way, that's the picture of my parents over there. They were looking handsome and beautiful. It's just about when they married. All right. So, I owe my achievements in life to God's grace and the sacrifice of those who came before me. There were people before you were here. There are people who came ahead of time. There are people who prepared the way for you. There are people who sowed the seed. There are people who made the investment. There are people who read books that you wrote books that you read. There are people who taught you in school. There are people who came and sacrificed in your field and never got anything, and you came to reap. Most of the time we reap where others have sown. We reap where we have not sown. Don't take the credit for yourself. You only came at the last minute to enjoy the blessing. But for the grace of God and those who came ahead of you, you wouldn't be where you are today. Number 48. God is good even when I don't understand him. I will never understand everything about God, but I know he's good, he's faithful, his mercies endure forever. There's things that happen in your life, in my life, that doesn't make sense. And you wonder, where is God? Why is God allowing this to happen? But God is good whether I understand him or not. That's one constant I've come to know in life. There are very, very difficult things to understand. If you look at the whole world, there is evil happening. Things happen that you wonder, where was God? Why didn't God do something? But over time, I've come to realize God is always good. He turns even the evil to be good, because his word assures us that he makes all things work together for our good. Not that everything is good, but he will make them work together for our good, because we are called according to his purpose. Number 49. This is the opposite of what Muhammad Ali said. I am not the greatest. I think the older I get in life, the more I come to realize my own limitations. When you are younger, you think you have all the strength, you have all the wisdom, you are the best, there's nothing like you. Behind you, there's nothing. Before you, there's nothing. But as you grow older, you realize you're not the best, really. You're just doing what you can. You're doing your best, but you're not the best. You're not the greatest. There will always be people who excel in areas far better than you. I'm not the greatest. I'm not the greatest pastor. And I'm not trying to be the greatest pastor. I just want to be a servant of God, to do the will of God, to do what I have to do with all my heart, with all the passion, with the intensity that I have. But I cannot guarantee that that will make me better than somebody else. It will only make me acceptable before God. Because, you know, after all is done, when we stand before the Lord, he would not say, well done, thou good and great servant. He would not say, well done, the pastor of the largest church. He would not say, well done, oh, you who excel beyond everybody. You set records everywhere. The recommendation that is going to be given is, well done, thou good and faithful servant. So all you can do in life is to be good and be faithful. Be good and be faithful. That's all you want to do, because that's what God expects from you. Not to be better than people, not to outstrip other people, not to be ahead of everybody, but just to be good and be faithful with what he has given to you. That's my 49th lesson. And my 50th, that's my signature tune, 50th lesson I've learned in life, is that there is always hope for the future. There is always hope for the future. And that is what I believe with all my heart, that there is hope for the future. That when things are down, they can look better. That when you are out, you can be counted in. When people have counted you out, God can bring you in. When you are last, you can be first. When nobody expects much from you, God can do great things with you. When you don't have all the skills, God can give you opportunity. There's always hope for the future. Your story today is not the end of the story. Your experience today is not the end of your experience. What you've gone through today will not determine how your future will be. You may have come from the West environment, be born from the West family. You may not have had the best training, but there is always hope for the future. When we trust the Lord and we walk with him, he does new things with our lives. He takes us places that we never ever dreamt we would go. I trust these 50 lessons have been a blessing to you. And what I just want to encourage you is each one of you take time and write down your own lessons in life. What have you learned in life in your 10 years, 20 years, 40 years? If you are 70, you must learn a lot of lessons. If you are 80, what have you learned? What are the lessons that you treasure in your heart that will help you to live the rest of your life? Or lessons you can pass on to others to say, listen, this is what I've noticed about life, and you can help other people with it. May God bless you, increase you, prosper you in all you do. Amen and amen.